City Commission. Prior to tonight's meeting, we'll have an invocation offered by Commissioner Lockhart, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Lord, for letting us gather here today and hope that we can all gather together and be equal and provide for the citizens of Sandusky and go in the common good of man. Amen.
Yeah. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dresser, will you call the roll, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Here.
Mr. Poole?
Here.
Mr. Lockhart?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Ms. Fine? Here.
I will ask for a motion to excuse Mr. Murray from tonight's meeting. I believe that he will be joining us, but I believe that he is stuck in traffic somewhere on Route 4.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Hearing no objection, that motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. I would like to acknowledge some guests we have here tonight. Eileen Borkhardt is here with the Ohio Business College, and she has some students here this evening with her. And my understanding is the intent of your visiting us tonight is for your students to see how a public meeting is run. You're getting the second hitter today instead of the first hitter. I am the vice mayor, not the mayor, so I'll do the best that I can. So I expect you students to take notes, and we can have a discussion and a test later, perhaps. Another issue that I want to address, prior to tonight, starting tonight's meeting, is in the event that anybody believes that there is going to be a vote on the Jackson Street Pier at tonight's meeting, I want to assure you that that is incorrect. That item is not on our agenda tonight. It is an item that is very important to our city. I think it's very important to a lot of residents. That is an item that is going to be shaped and dealt with and debated, I believe, for a while longer. I want to assure you that nothing is going to be done in secret. Nothing is going to be done behind your backs. When that vote finally comes before this commission, you will have plenty of notice of that. So if there's any misconception about there being some kind of a clandestine vote tonight, you are misinformed. I assure you there will be no vote on the Jackson Street Pier tonight. We're going to continue to talk about that. We're going to continue to reach out to citizens, getting their input and getting the input from consultants prior to that getting on this commission's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, in relation to that, can they still make comment at the open session, public session tonight for those that want to make comment about the Jackson Street Pier?
It certainly is appropriate. That will be at the end of our meeting at the public forum section. The beginning portion of our meeting, of course, as you know, will be on agenda items only for the public. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting on July the 10th?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I move that we accept the minutes of the July 10th meeting and dispense with the formal reading.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing no objection, that motion will be approved, and hearing no objection, that motion is approved. We will move to audience participation on items that are on the agenda. And if you'll step to the microphone and just give us your name and address.
Sharon Johnson, 1139 5th Street. I'd like to speak and comment on the tax abatement for City Hall. The tax abatement, the developer wanted 100% tax abatement for 10 years, and the schools have to sign off on this. They signed off on 75% for 10 years. So this is a little shocker to the city, because in the contract, there's a little clause there that states that if the developer doesn't get his 100%, the project may not happen. And if the city wanted to pick up the other 25%, we would be picking up the other 25%, which is probably going to happen today. It shouldn't be voted on. You need to kick the developer to the curb and say goodbye to this project. This is a lousy way to do business here, where the taxpayers have to pick up the 25% property taxes for this developer. That's not the way tax abatement's supposed to operate. And because we're renting from the developer, it's all legal and tidy because he's got his name on the property. Usually the city is a nonprofit, we don't pay taxes, and we're going to be paying taxes through higher rent for this 25% tax abatement that we're going to have to pay. This will come out of higher rent and operation costs, increased operation cost, that the city doesn't have an idea of what it's going to cost us because the valuation has to be done on the building after they complete their rehab. So I think that's, you have to start looking out for us, not the developer. He's been getting sweet deals all along here, and we continue to hand money over money to him. This is not the last of this. He's going to be coming to us for more money. You can bet on that. So I like to see the commissioners pull the plug on this and bid him farewell. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Anyone else wishing to speak on items on the agenda?
Hi, my name's Barbara Linden. I live out to Mirwood Village. I see on here that you have a program for Meals on Wheels. I beg of you, I work at the senior center. I'm a volunteer, and every day we serve 300 meals. And there's going to be more because people are getting of age. We're begging for any help we can get. We do everything we can during the year, but we'll take anything anybody offers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Linden. Anyone else wishing to speak on items on the agenda? Seeing no one rushing to the podium, we'll move to communications. Commissioners, we have several items of communication from staff regarding various ordinances and resolutions. Would someone like to make a motion to accept these communications?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motion and seconded. Discussion? Without objection, the motion will be accepted, and hearing no objection, the motion is accepted. Next, we have our infamous consent agenda items A through H. Commissioners, are there any consent items, agenda items you'd like moved to the regular agenda? Mrs. Presser, will you present the items on the consent agenda?
Yes. Item A is a change order, number 1 and final, for the 2016 street resurfacing program. Item B is a subrecipient agreement with OGO for the REACH program through our CDBG funding. Item C is a subrecipient agreement with the Erie County Senior Center for their Meals on Wheels program, also through the CDBG funding. Item D is a subrecipient agreement with the Erie County Health Department for their 211 information and referral service through CDBG funding. Item E is a subrecipient agreement with the Center for Cultural Awareness for their Citizen Circle program using CDBG funding. Item F is a resolution authorizing permission to bid the residential demolition project number 1. Item G is a transportation services agreement with the Erie County Veterans Service Commission for the Sandusky transit system. And item H is the transfer of D1, D2, D3, and D3A liquor permits from Yanishevsky LLC to Doghouse Bar LLC, doing business as Doghouse 1002 West Jefferson Street.
Thank you, Mr. Presser. Would a commissioner like to make a motion regarding the consent agenda items A through H?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Waddington.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H as presented to the City Commission on the consent agenda and shall take effect in accordance with sections reflected in the ordinances or resolutions, whether it be in accordance with Section 13 or Section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion on these consent agenda items, Commissioners? Mrs. Presser, will you poll the commission on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Now on the ordinances, resolutions, and communication.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
These ordinances, resolutions, and communications are passed. Mrs. Cresser, will you present item number 1 on the regular agenda?
Yes, item number 1 is an ordinance approving the Community Reinvestment Area Agreement with Sand City LLC, authorizing the city manager to execute the Community Reinvestment Area Agreement, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Discussion, Commissioners. Mr. Cresser, will you poll the commission
No,
on
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
somebody,
Poole? Sorry, I didn't mean to rush you.
yeah, someone, staff can address the comments from, is this not the issue that, brought up from the podium?
This is the issue. Mr.
That's
Lasko,
probably what we're doing.
I'm sorry, I should have acknowledged that. If you would give us a detailed explanation of exactly what it is we're doing here.
Sure. Through you, Mr. President, to members of the commission, and to the public, what is being considered is a community reinvestment area tax abatement agreement to be entered into between the city of Sandusky and Sand City LLC, or its assigned. Sand City LLC is currently the property owner of the 3 buildings downtown, known as the Kansas Avenue Revitalization Project, which will involve 18 multifamily apartments, about 9,000 square feet of retail, and ultimately about 22,000 square feet of city administrative offices, about 11.5 million in total project costs. The tax abatement as written is a 10-year, 75% tax abatement on the improved cost or the improved valuation to the property as a result of the project. What is also written into the agreement is some economic sort of guidelines and benchmarks that the developer would have to meet. Namely, they'd be committing to 25 full-time jobs created through the project, which is outside of the jobs that would be brought there from the city of Sandusky. There are 25 new full-time jobs associated to the retail spaces and to the property management staff of the property. That also generates $600,000 in new payrolls as a minimum. They'd also be required to do $4.1 million in construction payroll. They'd also be committing to 44 full-time equivalent construction jobs over the course of the 12 to 18-month construction project. As mentioned, this was passed at the June 30th school board meeting, but to answer Sharon Johnson's question directly, I would actually state that the lease anticipated a scenario, although this wasn't hoped for. The lease actually anticipated very clearly a scenario in which the tax abatement would be less than 100%. There was a provision in the lease that does say anything less than 100% would fall onto the city. One of the things that I think is really important, and I certainly don't say this in a threatening manner, but anything less than 75% if voted down per the lease would also fall on the city. So a potential no vote that would turn down the tax abatement would actually put the city on the hook for 10 years, 0%, and covering the entire cost of the increase in real estate taxes. I do think it's important to note that just from the income tax generated from the construction jobs and the full-time jobs are pretty significant and can offset a great deal of the increased expense from not getting 10 years, 100% tax abatement on the project. But again, this is a scenario that was not hoped for, but anticipated, which is why the lease was written in the manner that it was, and that we're not back here with a lease amendment, we're here only with a CRA tax abatement agreement for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Lasko. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Lasko?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Poole?
the jobs and the $600,000 additional payroll, et cetera, those things that are in there, what is the, describe the mile markers or when we're going to get them, how we intend to measure that this has been completed and over what period of time?
Yeah, through you, Mr. President, to Commissioner Poole's question, in the CRA agreement, and I can let you know what page, it is actually page 3. There is a section that lists 5 benchmarks annually for in which the developer is to produce the full-time equivalent jobs. It ramps up from 10 in the first year to 25 by the end of year 5. In that, it also talks about the construction wages and the construction jobs. Also, what we do is through the Tax Incentive Review Council every year in March, the project is annually looked at, and the contractor is expected to provide us with evidence of construction jobs, construction wages, and they're also required to give us employment information for those folks that are employed and what their wages are at the project as well. We can obviously also track this potentially through our finance department and being able to look at the income tax benefits that are coming in from the project. So there is an annual benchmark process through the Ohio Revised Code that would allow us to track the success of the project in meeting its CRA obligations.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Poole?
does the revised code identify the actions that are taken if the benchmarks are not met? Or is that something that's determined at the, by who?
Through you, Commissioner President, to Commissioner Poole, the Tax Incentive Review Council annually has the ability to do one of three things with each tax abatement on the rolls. They have the ability to continue if they assume that the developer or the person benefiting from the tax abatement is meeting their obligations or trying their best efforts to meet the obligations. They have the ability to terminate the tax abatement, or they have the ability to modify the tax abatement and the terms of the tax abatement. So there is a process annually to do one of those three things through the Tax Incentive Review Council.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Poole?
just want to say that with, hopefully that answers the public's questions about what, why this has the potential to be an acceptable tax abatement. Ultimately, this is the school board decides whether or not what they're going to approve and not approve before it comes to us. I will suggest that if the benchmarks that are identified are not made, we will need to take some action to rectify that. The concept of giving tax abatement for something that does not bring jobs, does not bring back revenue from another direction, it would be a mistake, especially dealing with rental properties. The community is extremely read into the fact that we have lots of rental properties, and it certainly appears, although I've never supported the concept that the homeowners are paying for our schools and the renters are not. I've always considered it part of their rent. This is a situation where not only are we are paying the landlord the taxes, and the school board has identified that they will give them an abatement. That it's a double whammy. The concept of it simply is profit unless the additional requirements in that the lease are met. So we're looking at it very closely, and thank you to the Sharon who brought it up. It is important, and I should answer questions of those in the community that are concerned that this isn't a good idea.
Mr. Lasko, I want to reiterate a couple of points regarding this issue. Number one, we have a contractual obligation to pay these taxes. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Now, the term here is saying we should be kicking the developer to the curb. If we do that, we are breaking a contractual obligation, number one. Number two, and again, I don't mean this in any threatening manner, but to fail to pass this legislation only obligates our city for more tax dollars and not less. I am unhappy, I'm personally unhappy that we did not get 100% tax abatement, but I learned a long time ago that half of a loaf is better than none, and we are getting 3/4 of a loaf in this situation. A third point I'd like to bring up is that it is my hope and my anticipation that we are going to be a tenant in this property for 7 years. So this is not going to be a 10, 15, 25-year payment of taxes. The moment that the city owns this property, hopefully 84 months from the day we move in, those taxes will go away because we are not a taxable entity. Is that correct?
Correct.
That satisfies me that this legislation is worthy of passing. Commissioners, any additional questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd?
I just want to say I'll support the tax abatement, and I know this has been a really long process for everyone to go through, but I want to thank the staff. I know that they worked really hard and put a lot of time and effort into pushing for that 10-year, 100% tax abatement. I know we have a strong partnership with Sandusky City Schools, but I have to say I'm disappointed that we're not voting on the 100%, but I'll support the 75.
Additional comments from commission? Mrs. Cresser, will you poll the commission on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Item number 2, Mrs. President.
Item number 2 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Roper Construction Incorporated of Willard, Ohio for the Venice Heights Boulevard reconstruction project and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Twine.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
There had been a motion and a second. Commissioners, the discussion. Mr. Klein, I wonder if you would share with us what exactly is going on out in the West End.
Yes, sir. Through Mr. President, to the commissioners and the residents, this is simply the Venice Heights reconstruction project. We got 2 bids for it, and Roper was the low. One thing that I would like to address right up front is the timing of this project. We've been receiving a lot of phone calls about why it was so late in the construction season to bid the project out. And what happened was we were waiting for some legal documents for the culvert that we're going to be adding to the project. So we're looking for easements, we were looking to make sure we had all that in line. As soon as we got it in line, we bid the project out. And being that it is a little bit late and we realize that the contractor doesn't have much time before school starts, we are going to have the pre-construction meeting as quickly as possible, which is this Friday, so the contractor can get out there as quickly as possible. We're also going to be looking to communicate on a regular basis with the school, and we're going to offer to the residents, the parents, the people that would be out in that area. We're going to try to set up weekly emails or bi-weekly emails to make sure that we're getting that out to the appropriate parties. So the phone number in our office is 419-627-5829 for people that would want to be on that, and we can organize that and get that set up. But we will try to work on making sure that that communication gets out and we have press releases as needed. As far as the project, it's a relatively simple project where we're going to be removing and replacing the entire roadway from Thorpe to the curve, and then from the curve to the west end of it, we're going to be doing some joint repairs. So it's a reconstruction of the entire roadway, which is badly needed.
Are you through, Mr.
Yes.
Klein?
Just one
Commissioner
question.
Lockhart.
One question. How long do you think the project will take?
They have until, what was that time frame? I believe we gave them until middle of November to complete the project. So typically we give them until the asphalt plants close, which will be in the middle of November.
Further discussion, Commissioners? Mr. Klein, we've had a lot of discussion with residents in that area, and I know they are anxious for this project to get started, and it has some benefits in it as far as drainage go also. So I'm optimistic that your department will track this very closely and will give them a successful project and dodge the school buses as we get close to the end also. Mr. Presser, will you poll the commission on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
That ordinance is passed. Ladies and gentlemen, usually when Mr. Murray is absent, which is very rare, I am called the mayor for a day. In this case, I've been the mayor for 26 minutes. I am now ready to hand the gavel back to the mayor and change seats with him.
Thank you, Mr. Brady, and apologies to all of you here and at home. I was in Columbus and got stuck behind a train that decided it was going to just park for the day on the tracks, I guess, so had to find a different route. Ms. Cresser, would you present item number 3, please?
Yes, item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to approve the third and final change order for work performed by Underground Utilities Incorporated of Monroeville, Ohio, for the East End Sewer Improvements Project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion second. Discussion. Ms. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 4, please.
Item 4 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with United Survey Incorporated of Cleveland, Ohio for the Sloan Street manhole replacement and slip lining project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I
Waddington?
move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brady?
I would ask our engineer, Mr. Klein, to give us a explanation of this. This is a sizable amount of money, but I think it is dollars well spent.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, this project is at the intersection of Sloan and West Monroe. It extends actually 800 feet along Monroe. What we're doing is replacing a manhole that's about 14 feet deep. It has a lot of infiltration, a lot of problems, and our crews have been having a lot of trouble maintaining it. The other portion of it is the lining of about 800 linear feet of the 15-inch sewer that's out there as well. This is an over-under sewer, which means the storm is directly above the sanitary. And these are also very problematic throughout the city. So we're lining that sewer to make sure that we don't have that infiltration to our wastewater treatment plant, which increases our costs out there. Third time we bid this project, and we finally got bidders, which is nice. The bids came in for United Survey at $193,000, just over $193,000. So we're looking to move forward with this and complete it this fall.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Poole?
I also support this. I believe these are the kinds of projects that have impact on citizens' lives, and this is what they pay taxes for the services that we provide. Having your sewers back up and other problems related with infrastructure that we haven't taken care of has a much greater effect on people's lives day to day in terms of cost of picking up the expenses created by trees dropping in their yards and on their cars and so forth. Likewise, sewer and water is important, so I'm always on board for improvements in those kinds of things.
Additional questions or comments? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 5, please.
Item number 5 is a resolution declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with the proposed Cedar Point CP number 14 ejector station improvements project, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Twine?
for the adoption of this resolution under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Then a motion and second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brady?
I'd ask Mr. Klein to give us another brief explanation on the necessity and just exactly, if you would, Mr. Klein, it might be enlightening for most of us for you to explain exactly why this is being changed to a different concept.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a little disheartening to say that the equipment is essentially obsolete when it was built the same year I was born. But, that happens to be the case here. This type of lift station is an old ejector station that they just don't make anymore. It's hard to find parts. Our crews just can't get anything to maintain the lift station. It's on the corner of Lane D and Cedar Point Road, and what they're gonna do is basically take what's there out, move it off the pavement a little bit, and completely add a new lift station. The total cost of this project is right around $322,000 when you factor in engineering and inspection work as well. So it's very important to make sure that this lift station and all those along Cedar Point Road are upgraded and maintained appropriately, because they pump in sequence right to each other till they get to the wastewater treatment plant. If we have problems with one of them, the water table's so high out there that we would be going directly to the bay. So it's important to get this work done.
Mr. Klein, how many lift stations do we have in the city, roughly? We're talking about
25,
25?
30.
And is that about how long they usually last?
Yes, unfortunately, the pumps are not designed to the same quality in most cases that they used to be. So a lot of the older pumps that you could have for 40, 50, 60 years now are maybe 20, 30, 40-year type pumps. Some of the lift stations, when we were originally doing them, for example, the Venice Road lift station, those pumps that were put in the mid-2000s, and they were only 10 to 15-year life cycle pumps. So what we try to do is we try to come up with economics to make sure that we're maximizing our return and getting the best pump for the money with the longest life cycle as well. So hopefully we can get that out here as well.
Thank you. Additional questions or comments? Ms. Cressy, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
And now on the resolution?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. And that concludes our regular agenda items. We turn it down to Mr. Whoopser for his city manager's report.
Thank you, commissioners, audience, and staff. Donations. First, a $300 donation was received from Barbara Sprague for the Oakland Cemetery Memorial Tree Fund. I'd ask for a motion to accept that donation.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. And hearing no objection, the motion is approved with the city's thanks.
Thanks. Also, a $300 donation was received from Xavier's Travelers for the Sandusky Recreation Department. I'd also ask for a motion to approve that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. And hearing no objection, the motion is approved with the city's thanks.
Also, moving on to Public Works, the relays and equipment that signals the operators through the SCADA system. There is a dangerous atmosphere in the confined space galley below the digesters has failed. This is a concern that must be resolved immediately to ensure worker safety. Staff received a quote of $14,020, and Director Klein has given approval to procure the equipment on an emergency basis. Staff will return with the appropriate legislation at the August 14th commission meeting. Do we need a motion, Aaron, for that or no? Could we get a motion to approve that?
So moved. Second.
Been a motion and second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brady.
I want to be perfectly clear that our engineer, Aaron Klein, came to both myself as liaison and came to our city manager, and I believe to yourself also regarding this issue, and we gave him our 100% support on procuring anything that dealt with life safety and an emergency measure. That will always be our position.
Agreed.
Chairman,
Mr. Poole.
would you restate the motion? I know.
Ms. Cressy, could you restate the motion, please?
So it would be to approve the $14,020 on an emergency basis with the legislation to be brought back at the next commission meeting?
On what?
For the SCADA system, improvements that need to be made at Big Island Waterworks.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
That motion is approved.
Thank you. Also in January, staff submitted an application to ODOT for funding through the Active Transportation Program for the intersection at Campbell, Scott, and Columbus Avenue. We were recently notified we will be awarded $125,000 to incorporate pedestrian-related and traffic calming infrastructure. Coupling this with the $175,000 received from the OPWC, this should allow the city to reconfigure the intersection as part of the Campbell Street resurfacing project. These modifications were requested many times over by residents during the Bicentennial Vision process and Sandusky Neighborhood Initiative, and were included in the Bicentennial Vision Master Plan. So we're excited to note that we're receiving that grant. Also, moving on to the police department, on July 17th and July 18th, Sergeant Susanna, Officer Rankins, and Officer Lillo used the Kroger gift cards that were donated by an anonymous donor to purchase and service ice cream for the children during the playground program. Klein's Dairy Frost donated the spoons, napkins, and paper cups. I wanted to say thank you to Klein's and to the anonymous donor who put a smile on many children's faces. And everyone should be gearing up for the 4th annual Touch a Truck, which will take place Tuesday, August 1st, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. From 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Paper District Marina. The event draws thousands of children of all ages to sit in, touch, and look at many different vehicles, such as police cars, fire engines, dump trucks, rescue boats, life flights, and many others. Food vendors, bounce houses, and giveaways are included. The Sandusky Recreation Department, Police, Fire, Public Service, and Public Work Departments all work together to make this growing event a success. Moving on to the Fire Department, the Sandusky Fire Department, in conjunction with the American Red Cross, has free smoke detectors available. A firefighter will come to your residence and install them for you. Please call 419-627-5822 for an appointment. Please don't forget to check your smoke detector batteries. Again, that's 419-627-5822 to make an appointment for a firefighter to come to your residence and install a smoke detector. The Sandusky Fire Department participated in Safety Town. This event was organized by the Firelands Regional Medical Center and hosted children in Sandusky who are entering kindergarten in the fall. Children learned about 911, home and fire safety, and interacted in the safety house with firefighters. Sandusky Fire also participated in Senior Safety Day, which was held July 19th at the Commons of Providence, and our firefighters, while delivering lunches daily to the playground program, also started up a game of baseball with the kids. So the community relations is growing contagious, and we thank Acting Chief D'Amico for their work on that. Moving on to community development, the city has granted a community reinvestment area residential tax abatement request for Window Holdings LLC. The abatement is for 5 years at 50% of the increase in appraised evaluation. It is granted as a right within the existing CRA boundary and does not require school board or city commission approval. The Windows invested nearly $200,000 in adaptively reusing a commercial building at 219 East Water Street into a residential unit. And we just wanted to thank the Windows for their partnership and continued investment in Sandusky as it continues its renaissance. Marus Brothers Construction is near the final submission for the National Register District application for the Columbus Avenue Commercial District expansion. The proposed expanded district is anticipated to be considered by the Ohio Historic Site Preservation Advisory Board at their regular September meeting. If approved, the recommendation will be sent to the National Park Service for final sign-off. The entire process is anticipated to be completed prior to the end of this year. Also, the Senior Homes of Venice, which is the proposal for the project that went forward at the corner of Tiffin and Venice, was notified by ARP Group LLC on July 19th that they were not successful in being awarded low-income housing tax credits from the Ohio Housing Financing Agency. We knew this was going to be a lower percentage chance, but we were disappointed that they were unsuccessful. We're going to meet with them in the upcoming weeks to determine any potential next steps. And regardless, the previously executed option agreement for the sale of the real estate is hereby immediately terminated. So we'll continue to decide what is the best and future use of that property, whether that involves going forward in the next round or ultimately putting that land on the market for another partner. Just a reminder, the regular planning commission meeting will be held Wednesday, July 26th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room, and that the Landmark Commission will meet on Wednesday, July 26th, following the planning commission meeting. Also, the first regular Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is scheduled for August 17th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. And moving on to public services, as part of our neighborhood park program made possible by the passage of Issue 8, Wilbur Street Park construction has begun. The park will be closed until the project is complete. This will be the fourth neighborhood park renovated since the passage of Issue 8. We thank the City Commission for their leadership on that issue.
Also, I have an emergency measure from the IT department. On Friday, July 21st, 2017, the city phone system suffered a failure. While we managed to replace some failed hardware and get it functional again, there are other parts that we cannot replace due to the age of the system, which is over 14 years old and is behaving erratically. To lose the phone system, which covers all of the departments and locations for the city of Sandusky, would render us largely inactive. We'd be able to reroute the emergency numbers to the dispatch center, but direct communication with all departments would be non-functional. Our intention is to move forward as an emergency project under Section 24 to purchase a new phone system, enabling us to purchase and install prior to the failure of the existing system. So we would move forward and then ultimately come back to the commission as soon as possible. I'd ask for a motion for permission to move forward with that endeavor, and Stuart is available to answer any questions that anyone has about the phone system.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and second, discussion. When you let me know right away when it came up, and as Stuart, and it is on its last legs. It's been budgeted, and so it's time to do it. You couldn't keep a phone system in a private business that complicated like this one with all the software that's involved for more than 14 years. Further discussion on the motion. Ms. Crosser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
That motion passes.
And that concludes my remarks for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Commissioners, questions or comments for the city manager?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brady.
I wonder, Mr. Webster, if perhaps you have this knowledge, or perhaps Mr. Lasko would have it. I wonder where we are. I've been watching some repairs going on the, what I'm going to call the old Monroe School. I wonder where we are as a city regarding that. The school season is coming quickly.
Yeah, my understanding is that that building was purchased by a for-profit charter school that is renovating the property in anticipation of opening up to K-5 students this fall. I know that they were anticipating needing trailers on the site, and that was going before our planning commission. I think Director Byington's actually probably in the best position to answer where they're at in that process, but I believe that's on this week's planning commission agenda.
Through you, Mr. President, to commission. Actually, they submitted too late to get on this month's planning commission meeting, so they have requested a special meeting. So the planning commission will determine this Wednesday if they will hold a special meeting for that school in order to open in time. They want to basically have some trailers on there because they're not ready to occupy the building.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
Like this, what about like an occupancy permit and that, to go in that building, that boiler hasn't been running, it's basically shut down, bringing trailers on site, is that gonna be, that would have to go through, staff, correct?
Yeah, that's so through the commission.
What's the normal take?
So through you, Mr. President, so that's what they're asking, is to be able to use those trailers because they can't occupy the building yet. So I'm not sure how much needs to be done within the building to get them up and ready to occupy the building. But if they don't have the trailers, they would not be able to open on time.
I guess my other question is about water, sewer, lights, and they have that all hooked up. Isn't there permits that they're gonna have to obtain? Doesn't it, it's gonna take more than a couple of weeks, correct?
I would believe so. Director Lasko, do you have any information on that through the building department?
I would assume for the trailers themselves also be hooked up, they'd have to tap into existing utilities, which could take a little bit of time. Obviously, for the building itself, has a very long way to go, given the extensive damage that occurred mainly through water infiltration through the roof. So the building itself, we believe, has a long way to go. But yes, to hook up trailers as well would require some utility connections, et cetera. That would take some time, without question.
So that could be like, as long as 30 days, sounds good. Okay. So I would push it past, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Poole.
what have they submitted? I'm trying to picture how many trailers, how much space on this lot how this is going to work. I'll get this to the planning commission, so, and might as well, if commission has any input for me to take that direction, now's the time. How is this going to work? It's nice that they want to do that. Is it practical to believe that, how do you tie trailers into sewers on the parking lot?
Through you, Mr. President.
Is there space?
I'm not exactly sure. I want to say that I recall maybe 4 trailers that they were going to put out there, and they were self-contained is what they said in regard to the restrooms. They didn't talk about cooking or hooking up to utilities, but yes, I believe they would have to do that. I know that other schools have done that during construction when they're doing additions or when they're tearing down and rebuilding. So I know that other school districts have done it, so I think it is practical, but I'm not sure how much yet they have to do and how long it would take for them to actually occupy the building. So I can't say how long they're proposing for the trailers to be used, but that's something that we would definitely want to ask them. And they would be located within existing parking area.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments for the city manager? Then we will turn to old business. Anyone having any items of old business? Any items of new business?
Mr. Chairman,
Cool.
just want to comment. It's like, first of all, we have a room full of people that are with T-shirts, Friends of Jackson Street Pier, so either by mistake or they have something to say after the meeting about the Jackson Street Pier. They thought, by mistake, thought we were voting on something, which is, we need to think about why the rumor mill would start that. I did want to just say, though, that at the steering committee meeting, the most significant thing that came out above and beyond the presentation of the plans, of the 3 potential plans, was a revelation when they advised that the number of spaces that would be left on Jackson Street Pier for all 3 would be about 70 spaces. At that point in time, the owner of the Good Time indicated that would create a problem for him that would be insurmountable. It's the best I can say, the politically correct way to talk about it. And I'm a little disappointed at this point that we've been involved in this conversation for over a year, and we have not resolved that issue so that we're not going to lose the Good Time. The Jet Express was not there, so I don't know what their position is on trying to survive as a business with that parking. So I just hope that we get, perhaps since that meeting, you've met and resolved the problem. But since I have not heard anything further, I want to be sure that that gets considered. Putting a park on Jackson Street Pier at the expense of a business that's been here for quite some time, which I consider historically important to our community. Not to mention the family has supported our community for a long time. So I want to be sure that we don't come up at the end of this conversation with all the meetings we've had and then go, oh shucks, I guess we're going to have to live with this. I want to be sure that we have done all that's possible and then actually as a community decide how bad is it necessary that we put parks and Ferris wheels and whatever is asked on that pier at the expense of whatever it is that we're going to lose.
Any other items of old business?
Commissioner Murray. Through the commission president, I had one more item that I held off on my manager's report because we had a late arrival. But Director Klein and Director Hamilton have been working with the Cleveland Water Alliance to bring a very special competition to Sandusky Bay. And Matt Herzog of the Cleveland Water Alliance is here to talk about the Internet Water Challenge, an innovative competition focused on developing a real-time resilient monitoring system for nutrients in Lake Erie. There's a kickoff for that taking place this Thursday, and we were hoping that you would yield just a few minutes for him to educate you and the public on that process tonight.
Herzog, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much, everyone, for having me here this evening. My name is Max Herzog. I'm with the Cleveland Water Alliance. We're a small nonprofit based in Cleveland, Ohio. We function mostly in Northeast Ohio historically, but recently we engaged in a project called the Erie Hack that brought us around the entire of Lake Erie. Our focus is on bringing the idea that Lake Erie is not just an essential environmental resource for our entire region, but also a really important part of our economy. We're dedicated to aligning research institutions, nonprofit organizations, businesses, and also government entities around this idea. And over the past year, we engaged in a competition where we brought technology folks and researchers, environmentalists together for the first time in this way, and to bring new and innovative solutions for our lake. And we saw really great participation, over 200 different individuals participating, 40 different teams. And from that, we saw that monitoring for nutrients in our lake, nutrient pollution, which is the thing that drives the harmful algal blooms, one of the biggest environmental crises that we face as a region, was a real interest to a lot of the technology folks that were really new to the water space. And so this Internet of H2O competition that's really centered here in Sandusky is a continuation on that. And we're really excited to work with the city and as well as Bowling Green State University and the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to piggyback on the work that's being done with the Sandusky Bay Initiative, an initiative that we think is really the cutting edge in terms of trying to address this nutrient loading problem. And so our goal, in partnership with the city and others, is to help bring the technological assets of our region and focus them here in the Sandusky Bay as a pilot for how we address this problem for the whole lake. And as was mentioned, we're having a stakeholder meeting here in this very room, I believe, on Thursday, which is focused on bringing kind of the Lake Erie research community together around this topic to make sure that we have them all aligned and get them participating in this competition.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your hosting it here, or having it here, and we're happy to host that. I know Mr. Klein and his team have been really leaders and innovators in this area, and we appreciate all that they do to protect Lake Erie and to showcase some of the cutting-edge work that we're doing. So I will see you on Thursday for the start of that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other items of new business? When we turn to audience participation, anyone wishing to address the commission regarding any items of city business, please step to the microphone, give us your name, address, and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. I'm a member of the Friends of the Jackson Street Pier and also an associate member of the 58 Dockers. I'm here to give you a little bit of update on our side of the Jackson Street Pier issue. Both groups met Saturday. Plus, there was some folks from the general public that attended that meeting. And we have a number of those people in attendance today. If you all want to wave or stand up or whatever you want to do, that's great too. Right off the get-go, I have to tell you, because at the meeting Thursday, we were accused of being against change. We're part of the anti-Sandusky group. We had one person from the supporter side of the Jackson Street Pier. She was walking around the room asking everybody where they lived at. So the other side's starting to make an issue of, if you don't live in the city of Sandusky, you shouldn't be here commenting on it, which I think is totally wrong personally. We are here. We knew you weren't going to vote on it tonight, but we're here to let you know that we feel that the process either needs to start over completely. You know, we here, sitting here, are at the top of the food chain. You 7 are next. So you folks have the ability to direct the city manager and staff to kind of start all over again, because to go to an 80% park, 20% parking is just penny wise, pound foolish. I mean, we're jeopardizing a long time business here. There's been some issue about Mr. Lamb telling staff that they need 60 to 80 parking places on the pier, and somehow city staff whittled that down to 20-25. And when I talked to Joe Lamb, he was just livid. You know, he has no idea where the 20 to 25 parking places on the pier for his business even came from. But again, that's one of the things that our table Thursday discussed, was the parking for the Good Time One, and it came right out of a city employee's mouth, Mr. Volz, who works for the development department, that 20 to 25 parking places on the pier is what Joe Lamb agreed to, and that is totally incorrect. You know, change is good, but in moderation. Just like eating an ice cream cone on the Jackson Street Pier, you don't want to do it every day because you're going to gain weight. This plan, and this is the third meeting we've had on this plan, and each time it comes back, it's just mostly park and not enough parking. And I have to tell you that I think, and our group thinks that we are the vocal majority. The vocal majority, not the vocal minority, the vocal majority. And if you all looked around the room at those last two meetings at the State Theater, you're going to see a lot of gray hairs, okay? You're going to see a lot of people over 40 years old that are saying, let's take a step back. And I personally am not saying 50% parking, 50% pier, but it needs to change. And somebody's not listening. Somebody's not listening. You know, both meetings, I watched Mr. Whoopser. He's pacing the room, okay? He's pacing the room because he knows that there's a very large outcry of this needs to change. But it's not changing. I don't know if there's some private stakeholder meetings that are going on, and that's why the same plans keep coming back every time. Again, like I said, this is the third time that this plan's come out, and it's unfathomable. It's just unbelievable. Chesapeake Lofts. I talked to a former homeowner association president at the Chesapeake Lofts. They are disappointed in the plan. There's been a lot of talk out there that, well, you know, we're doing this plan for the Chesapeake Lofts. That's not true. Okay, that's just not true. I wanted to get that out into the public. At our Saturday meeting, somebody said, just like we got 5 mattress stores on 250, how many do we need? How many events complexes do we need in the city of Sandusky in the downtown area? You count them to yourself. There's at least 4 of them that we're using right now as events areas. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm here to tell you, I don't know if anybody else wants to speak. Again, it's time to start over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer.
Hi, Marcy Platt, 1217 Columbus Avenue. Sandusky resident, 56 years. See a lot of people here. If we needed to, we could all bring 5, 10 more. I don't feel like our voice is being heard. Why say you have a transparent process? If you have, I feel really duped because I've been to all the meetings and Alex wrote things down that the Friends of the Jackson Street Pier wanted. Those things did not appear on any of the plans. And why would you ever have parking facing the Good Time and the Chesapeake Lofts? Do they want a bunch of people sitting there staring at their apartments or their condos, whatever you want to call it? That does not make any sense. Alex talking about his kids rolling down hills. Are you going to roll on the goose poop? Because let's face it, we have a goose poop problem. And if you don't, I think the problem is we've been calling this parking spots. They're not parking spots, they're open spaces. Why does everything have to be consumed? Everything has to have a purpose. There's too much activity on there. The reason people go there is to sit and meditate or think. And the reality is, it didn't show the open end, the panorama view that everybody goes down there to get. None of those plans have that to the point that it has right now. None of them. So why would we ever give up that as a community? I was recently in Virginia Beach. There's no one spot there that you can drive out. And if you want to go on their pier, it's $2 just to walk on the pier. I mean, do we really want to get to that point where we so much control that area that we're going to even charge people to go down there? You have an amphitheater that the people of the city of Sandusky have already paid for. We've already paid for that. You've already got a standalone restaurant down there, right there. Does anybody go to the amphitheater? It's my understanding there's, 5 or 6 movies, and that's all we're using it for. And then it's my understanding that if you don't want to sit on goose poop, you got to put a blanket down or sit on the sidewalk. So why are we reinventing the wheel? And as far as that TIF money, that is the taxpayers' money. Because if that money had not gone into this project, it would have gone into Sandusky City Schools. And I don't know about the rest of you all, but I'm not real happy about the increase in my taxes for the city schools. And the reality is, after Berlin-Milan, we pay the highest percentage in city school taxes than any other community in our area. And we're not graduating more kids anymore. Norwalk is ahead of us, and Clyde and Bellevue is going to be much higher than us soon. So if you're going to take that tax incremental funding, at least listen to the people of the city. It shouldn't, Mr. Whipser has said to me, and I like Mr. Whipser, has said to me, well, that's your opinion, that isn't anybody else's. Really? Really? Every time someone says that to me, I say the same thing. Why do you think it's only my opinion? It's only my word. Talk to the people out here about what they want. I don't know what your vision is for Shoreline Park and all those other things, but you're going to recreate all of them too? That was our money going into all those. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bott.
I'm back again. Barbara Linden, I live out to Mirwood Village. The only thing I've got to say is all these projects for downtown. Why are we trying to look pretty for somebody else? This is our town. You say you're trying to draw people from out of town. Why? People like to come here because of the way it is now. Why do you want to change it? People in the town should have the vote on what goes down downtown. I'm sorry, but that belongs to us. That is our Jackson Street Pier. We don't need an ice skating rink. We don't need a stage down there. We need it the way it is. Maybe a little bit of improvement cleaned up. We don't need all that other stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Linden.
Hello, short person here. My name is Kristen Webb. I hope you all can see me in my little 4'8" body. I do have a big mouth though. So my name is Kristen Webb. I live at 125 Palmer Drive in our beautiful city of Sandusky. I'm a city resident, and I am not from Sandusky. I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island, where we have beautiful beaches. And let me just tell you, in Long Island, you have to pay to go to the beach. You have to pay a lot. You have to pay just a park to go to the beach. And when I moved here, I could pull up to the water for free and enjoy it. And I love the sunsets. I love living in Sandusky. Sandusky is my home. I'm married to my husband, who is Sandusky born and raised. And we love the pier the way it is. We are both disabled. We can't really get out and walk along the water. We can't walk along the beach. The pier is the place where we can go and sit on the water's edge, mere feet from the water, sit in our cars and contemplate life, like somebody else said. So please, don't take our pier away from us. We don't need another park. There's Shoreline Park. There's the park that they just built where they tore down that old pool or whatever it was. Yeah, they built a park over there. There's the marina. We don't need any more parks on the waterfront. What we need is a place where we can go and sit and watch the sunset. We don't need to have all the whistles and bells that these plans have, because we already have that in so many parts of Sandusky. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Lamb, 312 Michigan Avenue, owner Good Time 1, Sandusky, Jackson Street Pier. Obviously, I'm a little concerned about the first design that came out with the pier. When I first met with Alex, of course, the first rendition came out in the paper. It kind of flipped everybody out. Everybody's like, whoa, including myself, and I told Alex that. When he actually sat down for the stakeholders meeting with me, he asked me directly, what is the most important thing to my business? I says, parking. I have to have people accessible to me to be able to get to my vessel. And everybody, and I told him this, I said, everybody associates me with the boosters. Yes, I run that, but it's one night a week. It's one night a week, and I don't really, those people, they park uptown, they go to the bars, they come to me, they either get taxied down there or they get dropped off. So those people are not my concern. Tuesday through Saturday, Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Saturday nights, I have mostly charters, which involve either weddings, corporate events, and they are people that are basically probably 50 to 60 years or older that cannot park 2 blocks away from me and be told to walk down. You know, when Alex talked to me, he goes, what would you like to see on site? I said, 50 to 60 spots for me would be perfect. And that's just me. I said, I can't talk for the Jet, even though I know they told me that they utilize around 200 spots. He goes, well, 60, 80 spots, okay. And he actually put it in an email to me, said, you know, he recommended on-site 60 to 80 spots. And then I hear it says, oh, well, yeah, we said 60, 80 spots, but not necessarily on-site. I'm like, no, that was not our conversation. I even actually sent him an email to correct him on that. Said, you know, you told me this is what I needed. And that first public forum that he went to, he actually told the public that we talked at a good time. If he needs 60, 80 spots, he's going to get 60, 80 spots. Because then we're going to take the pieces and overlap them and try to find what a best puzzle fit for the pier it is. That first rendition does nothing for me. I mean, 60 spots, yes. 30 of them probably 2-hour parking. The ones that the young lady up here talked about before, facing the Good Time and the Jackson Street Pier, that's all governed under Transportation Security Act. And public parking cannot be allowed along that wall because it's too close to the boat. So I can only have employee parkers in that area. So now that puts us down to what, 20 spots? And I would never agree to 20 spots. There's just no way. I am absolutely fearful that if this park was to happen, it'll crush me. It will. People will not park 2 blocks away and walk down to me. You know, it was brought up that, you know, just over to Chesapeake, that there's 75 spots that are available over there that will put transient parkers over there. I don't know if anybody's even talked to the Avalones about that. Because I know during Bike Week, when they took up all that parking, they had to shut down because people couldn't park to get to them go down on the water and enjoy the evening. Is there room for change? Yes. Yes. But honestly, if it was to come out today with that first rendition and go that way, I would be in big, big trouble. And I just want to hear it from me personally and not through a bunch of other people. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb.
My name is Betty Brogley, and I was born here in Sandusky, Ohio, and graduated from St. Mary's High School in 1958. I'm representing them tonight. We call ourselves the 58 Dockers, and we, for over 20 years, have met on the Jackson Street Pier every Tuesday evening from May to October. We brown bag it, so we get meals from area restaurants. We bring our chairs and sit on the park benches. We have great camaraderie and celebrations. We watch the boaters and the storm chasers and the fishermen. We watch the Cedar Point lights come on, the sunsets, and we also ride the local ferry boats. We were also touted in the newspaper 12 years ago, and we have anywhere from 30 to 45 people that come down there every Tuesday night, if the weather permits. I also represent the Friends of the Jackson Street Pier, and we plead for a design presentation of more parking spaces, less green space, handicap accessible, minimal landscape changes, thus keeping the pier a peaceful bayfront space for the continued use of our whole community.
Mrs. Crosser, did you catch a name and address? I didn't catch it.
About the last name.
Thank you, Mrs. Grove.
Good evening. My name is Ruthie Smith. I'm former owner of the Good Time One. I no longer live in Sandusky, but we felt the need to come to express our concerns for Joe Lamb and also for the Canadian operation of the Pelee Island Ferry and the proposed return of the Jamon. I don't see anywhere in any of the plans that you take into consideration the space required for Customs and Immigration, who have to clear that boat every time it comes in. If you're ever down there on a Friday night or a Sunday night when the boat comes in, you'll notice that they put cones across the drive area to not allow vehicles to pass through where they're bringing vehicles out of that caged area. This is a necessity for Customs and Immigration. They have to have a secured area. I know Sandusky is a small potatoes compared to a lot of Customs and Immigration areas, but they still have the same requirements. And I just feel for Joe and for the Pelee Islander that they're not really being looked at as something that is a primary use of that pier. I know that Sandusky wants to put another park down there and it looks beautiful, but you're looking at possibly relocating two businesses. Joe, I understand exactly where he's coming from because we faced the same problem. Back in the middle 90s, George Polis, who was a contractor for the city, I don't believe he actually was a city employee, but he drew up plans for the Jackson Street Pier back then. And he brought them down to the boat one evening and had them rolled up under his arm, and he got on our boat and he unrolled them. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I think it looks really nice, but where are we? There wasn't even a place on the pier where the Good Time would be operating from. I said, so you want me to do backflips because you've got this beautiful drawing here, but you basically have eliminated our business. And we received a call from Darcy Shea, who formerly worked for the city back during that time, and she said, well, we've been working with Cedar Point, and they said it's okay if we move you to the Cedar Point dock. And I said, it's not okay with me to be moved to the Cedar Point dock. I just feel like the city hasn't really worked with the people who are bringing people into the city. I mean, Joe brings business in days, evenings. They're not all local people. They're coming in from Cleveland, from Toledo area, Oak Harbor. I mean, they're bringing people in that are spending money in the city. They don't just get on the boat and go and come back and leave. They're here, they eat dinner here. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of people over the years asked George and I, when they got off the boat in the evening, where's the best place to eat? Where can we get a good perch sandwich? We want to spend our money here. They'd stay in motels. They'd do something else the next day. I just think that the idea of making a park on the pier is really not the best use of that property. You've got to consider the people that the boating industry that uses that, and that's what it was built for. It was built for a pier. It wasn't built for a park. It can stand to use some updating, of course. I mean, maybe new pavement, maybe a few new islands between the parking areas with some planters or trees or whatever would be fine. But to totally make a park out of that, I know one of the plans we looked at, I mean, we look at it online since we're not living in town any longer, but one of them had a splash pad down there. I guess I don't understand when the wave action pool was such a failure on the waterfront, why would you put a splash pad down there? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Leave it for people who just like to drive out there and have their lunch or meet a friend down there and shoot the breeze on the edge of the pier at 6 o'clock in the evening. I mean, it's just not necessary to make another park. I just think it's foolish. Not that you care what I think, but my main reason was to come here tonight to support Joe Lamb and the Pelee Islander as businesses that have been here for a long time and brought a lot of business into town. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. To be clear, I just want to clarify one thing. Those were not plans, those were just parts and pieces of what things might look like. Just meant to put ideas out there and see what people liked and what they didn't like. So, anyway, please proceed, ma'am.
My name is Mercedes Kusser. I live at 1913 Clinton Street here in Sandusky. I'm not gonna lie, I'm real nervous, y'all. Like, for real, I don't speak well in front of a lot of people. Chief, you know that. Whew. This might seem really irrelevant, but it does have to do with the Jackson Street Pier. My grandfather has been on oxygen for a long time. He's on it 24/7. My grandmother is not able to walk that much as well either. So having to park 2 blocks down away from the pier, because that's like one of my mama and papa's favorite places to go. Mine as well, because I suffer from severe anxiety and depression. And that's one of my number one spots to go, to regroup, get my thoughts together, and be like, whoa, Sadie, what are you doing? You know? And then my 3 kids, they're 7, 6, and 2. They love going down there. They love seeing the boats across the water going over. My 2-year-old go, Mommy, Mommy, boat, boat. I don't want that to go away. And especially when we go for long walks and everything. And sometimes I don't really want to walk either. I just want to go and sit in my truck and enjoy the view. The sunsets are beautiful. And it's like, not everybody wants to walk. Especially late at night when the mosquitoes are out and all the muffleheads are out. They're so annoying. And they bother me. Do they bother anybody else? So it's like, don't take something that's been here, that's got history. It's been here for a really, really, really long time. I don't even know when it was established. I tried doing my research to see when, but I can't find nothing. But I do know it's been here for a long time. And to comment on what Joe said too, it's like, why do that? You know, put all those parking spots there and only have so many, and then some people have to park 2 blocks down. When they're on the boat, they're drinking, having a good time, and then just one drop, you're already over the limit, and the limit's .08. So like, if you're very intoxicated, coming from an ex-alcoholic, I'm not gonna wanna get off the boat and walk 2 blocks down to get to my ride or to a taxi and have that opportunity for a police officer to come at me and be like, you're getting in trouble for public intox. I don't want that for anybody. I'm just looking out for my grandparents and other elderly people who cannot walk that well, don't wanna park 2 blocks down and have to walk to go visit something that means a lot to them, especially my papa. I guess that's pretty much what I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sharon Johnson, 1139 5th Street. I have talked about the Jackson Street Pier and my fear for the boat lines there if you take that parking away. I just think you're going to destroy the boat lines. Parking is really going to be tight downtown. I usually throw myself into projects like this, but my heart's not in it. I don't have the ambition or anything because I'm so disheartened. I've only been to about 2 meetings. The rest of them I can't stand to go to. I just can't stand it. You people have to wake up and listen to us. This is not going to be a dog and pony show. Not going to be a dog and pony show. We've seen 3 sets of plans now, and nothing's concrete. We're still at this a year and a half to 2 years, and some of these consultants, and they're laughing all the way to the bank on us. Over here on 222 Meg Street, we're still extending that guy's contract, and I think that contract was due up in June. We gave him 6 more months. Are we going to give him more extension time? When are we going to get some final plans here so we can finally debate this thing? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Catherine Carter, 5309 Columbus Avenue, Perkins Township. Now, I like to wear flowery shirts, but I'm wearing my shirt today because I was told at Thursday night meeting, I live in Perkins Township, not Sandusky, and I didn't have the right to be at that meeting, the public meeting about the pier. I was also told that people from Huron, Monroeville, Bellevue, and anywhere else outside of Sandusky have no right to be at that meeting, putting out their ideas on what could be done on the pier. I was also told that I didn't have the right to be at this meeting, this public meeting, because I don't live in Sandusky. So the person told me at the meeting that they want Sandusky to be a destination. But I don't know who it's supposed to be a destination for, because this is where I come. This is where I bring people to the museums, and this is where I bring people to the restaurants, and go down to the pier and watch the ferries leave and watch a jet express take off across the pier or across the lake. A lot of people enjoy this area that aren't from this area, but I don't know if we're supposed to get permits to be able to come into town, because right now, I'm voicing an opinion that doesn't matter because I don't belong here. There's a lot of people that come to Sandusky. Sandusky is the big city in this county, and all the other cities are smaller cities. We're supposed to be the gem. We need to be the grand city it used to be, with wide boulevards, bringing people into town, with shops in town, instead of just bars and music venues. Now, it came to me this morning that maybe the reason why you want a lot of bars downtown, and maybe the reason why you want 4 music venues in a mile on Shoreline Drive is, are you planning in the back of your minds to turn Sandusky into another Put-in Bay? Because I wouldn't want to spend $200,000 for a condo in town and then listen to music till 2 o'clock in the morning at 4 music venues. There's no sense in having 4 of them if you're not going to have them playing every night with 4 bands. I got to get up in the morning and pay for that $200,000 condo. So maybe there's something behind all of this that I'm not understanding, we haven't been told about, I'm not sure. But we've already said the things that we wanted. We were told at the Boomtown meeting, tell us what you want. That's what Mr. Alex said, tell us what you want. We told him we didn't want a building down there to be used as a farmer's market. We already have a farmer's market, and it's nice where it's at. We told him we wanted at least 40 parking spaces at the end where people can go and fish and watch the ferries and watch the sailboats come in and watch the sunset, watch the lightning storms come in off of Marblehead without getting caught in the rain and having to run 2 blocks to our car. There are 7 businesses that are working off that pier right now. There's 3 ferries, there's 2 food trucks. People park down there and go to Mosley's. People park down there and go to Hot Dog Tony's. I watched some people coming down from downtown. They were coming through Shade Mylander. They were carrying leftover containers, so they obviously ate at a restaurant in town. They came downtown, they went to the pier, and they got in their car and they left. So they parked down there, and then they went up into town. Maybe they couldn't find a parking space where they wanted to be. I don't know. But that's a lot of people working off of a parking area. Someone said that the most that pier's ever used is 74% when it's full. Didn't look like it to me the last several Saturdays and Sundays. Use the 20% down by the street. Put some planters down there, put the food trucks in the middle facing each other with eating area in between them, put some trees in there, but you need half of that pier to be what it's there for. And it's there to take care of the businesses that are there. Thank you. Now I'll mind my own business.
My name's Deb Volz, actually Deborah Niece Volz, 3609 Campbell Street. And I do live in Perkins Township, but my mailing is Sandusky, Ohio. My statement is very simple. More parking, less park. I'm not against all the plans. There's certain things I do like about certain things, but parking is important to a lot of people, as you can hear from everybody here. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Holt. Anyone else present wishing to speak? Someone care to make a motion to adjourn?
I would, Mr. Chairman, just to comment on this. As we can see, there's a great deal of interest in Jackson Street Pier. I think this conversation is one that's been kicked down the road, and it's really about what the uses are of the pier, as opposed to conceptual drawings of how nice it could be. Some comments have been made indicating that this isn't a plan, we're simply asking for input about specific amenities, which is true, but you need to point out that these are choices of amenities that are just the choices that they were given. And this group of people is in here because after all the money we spent on consultants and all the meetings getting input, at the final end, the choices that they were given to choose from didn't include what they asked for. The conversation needs to be directed at uses. I would suggest we started at the beginning of this with the premise that Jackson Street Pier is ugly, and I believe it was Mrs. Twine indicated about we need to do things for the young people. I would suggest that over the course of this activity, all this time, we have green space all across this bay, and no matter what the amenities that have been proposed for these young people to do, I don't see any demand for those. I don't see any young people in here talking about it. I don't see them on any of the green spaces we already have doing anything at all in any large numbers that would justify a $2.5 million expenditure for us to move whatever it is you think they might consider doing on Jackson Street Pier. Ms. Smith was very correct. There are many things that we could do to make that pier more better. But at the end of the day, we've got businesses down there, and this is about economic development. We have businesses that contribute to our economy now, and we've yet to have a conversation that suggests in any way whatsoever numbers of what these changes are going to do to improve our economy. It's just changes, and we need to do things for young people. They were doing Pokemon 6 months ago. I'm not sure what they're doing now. So after I spend $2 million on this pier and go, well, why aren't you sitting on the wavy grass? So I hope that we will, ultimately you're gonna have to tell us if the end result is the boats may have to leave, and you need to say straight up that you've decided that that's okay, and this is what we're replacing that in our economy with. If that's what this is about, we've avoided the conversation for a long time, gave the indication that there was gonna be enough parking and everybody was gonna be happy, and I've quietly sat and waited and assumed that it was being taken care of with Mr. Lamb's staff has told me multiple times, don't worry about the good time, we've got this. And here we find out that no, we don't. I would point out, if there's 70 spaces on the parking lot, it doesn't mean they're gonna be for you. Because they're all, unless you do that. I would suggest this, if you wanna make this work, put 70 spaces on the parking lot, and we'll put a sign at the front door that says 55 and older. And all the young people that you have told us are gonna walk 2, 3, or 4 blocks, we'll see if they do that. And then we'll be able to let the boat run. These folks can still go down there and have parking. Because the concept is when you take 200 spaces off of there, you're not gonna be 2 blocks away to get there. You're gonna be 4 blocks away because it cascades across as we move away, as you move those 200 cars across the city. So if you truly are not trying to limit the accessibility of folks who actually have trouble walking, and we're not concerned about the boats, and then we're gonna have to designate parking for them with whatever number you put there. And it's a business count in terms of whether or not it's gonna work. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
First off, I'd like to thank everyone that's come today. It's so rare that the public turns out to these meetings. And as elected officials, I think it benefits us to hear from you on a regular basis. You know, a government without its people is really not a government. I am a liaison to the ADA committee, and I see some of them here today. So I always think about the accessibility of the public, whether they're disabled or just elderly. And we discussed today that it is a mountain to climb to get there. As some of us that are healthy and good shape, you know, it's an easy walk down there. But to the elderly or to the people that have walkers and things like that, that may just be in a wheelchair, it's a mountain to climb to get down there a long way. So whatever we do, we certainly have to be mindful of that. We have to be mindful of the businesses that were there. You know, one thing that I always thought is that anything that we do in the future benefits the people that were here already. And then we think about people that may come. And so if there's a business that's there, we certainly can't put them at a detriment. We should be mindful of them so that they can go forward and profit and prosper in this city. So if the Good Time or the Jet Express or the Jamon are harmed, I think it would be completely the wrong thing. In regards to a public park, listening to all of you, I don't see a value in a public park. I see the amenity, a greater amenity in being able to access the water without a park or a splash pad. So it doesn't really resonate with me at this point. So I do believe that all your opinions matter, and I want once again, thank you for all coming down here, and I hope I see you again, not just on this issue, but many, many, many other issues. So I don't know how you all get your news, whether you watch us on TV or what have you, but please, please, please keep coming to these meetings.
Mr. White.
I too want to thank everyone coming down to express your opinions. You were all loud and clear. We definitely have heard you. I was going to let your words speak for itself. Mr. Commissioner Poole felt a need to use me in his comments, so I feel a need to respond. Again, I respect and understand your perspectives. I think for myself as a commissioner, I have to look at all perspectives too. Yes, I have commented that we do want younger people to come and take advantage of the area, but that doesn't mean at the expense of our senior citizens and those that have disabilities or disabling issues or concerns that prevent them from maneuvering and getting to where they need to be. And so again, I've heard your comments loud and clear. And again, as a commissioner, I want to be mindful of every citizen. And there were a couple here that were here tonight who don't necessarily live in the city of Sandusky. We truly appreciate your comments also, because those are important, because we want visitors, we want citizens, and we want our neighbors to take advantage of the beautiful lakefront, bayfront corridor that we have here. So again, I want to express my appreciation and thanks for everybody taking the time to come down here and express your opinions. I've heard you loud and clear.
Folks, much to take under advisement, but I do want to say this. Whoever spoke and said that you're not welcome to be here or to express an opinion, they didn't speak for the seven of us, and that's just a wrong-headed view. So I don't know who said that, but I better never hear it again, and I better never hear it from staff. So, and I don't think it came from staff, but I guess we'll see about that.
Mr. Chairman, I think this gentleman here wants to make.
Papa has something to say.
Yes, sir.
I'm Wally Beal, and on Monroe Street, this is my granddaughter. My wife mainly lets we won't be able to come here and park anymore. We cannot walk. She said, you can't walk 2 blocks.
He has a hard time just going to the.
5 years ago, I could. Who knows? But I've seen all the conceptual drawings are great. They just don't fit Jackson Street Pier. What about where we tore out the wave action pool? Why not put it in there? There's nothing at that end. for kids and like that. That would be a great spot to put one of those concepts, whatever we want to call it. That's what I got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Gill. Brady, Wallace, motion to adjourn?
Yeah, second.
Okay. Thank you, folks. We stand adjourned.